Dear friends, the Reader's Digest is one of the popular magazines that is translated into 15 different languages. It used to sell over 28 million copies each month. Assuming each copy is read by 4 people on average, it touches more than 100 million people worldwide. One of the features it has is called Heroes for Today. For example, in 1987, the May edition featured some people it considered to be the heroes for today or for our times. One of these heroes is John Penn. He a retired businessman and a very successful one. But unfortunately, he and his wife developed cancer at the same time. His wife died soon after that diagnosis, but John's cancer went into remission. While driving back and forth from the hospital for his treatment, John noticed a number of sick people waiting at the hospital bus stop. Sometimes the weather was severe, bitter cold, and many of these people were elderly and they didn't have their own personal transportation. So one day, John decided to go to the local chapter of the American Cancer Society. And he said, "Give me a car and little gas money, and I will volunteer my days to drive these unfortunate people home." And he did. For 10 years then, John had donated all of his time just doing that. Dear friends, the story of John illustrates what Jesus is talking about in today's gospel. What is the deeper meaning of this parable? Who is that man who went on that long trip? Who are the servants in the story? And what does the money stand for? First, the man who went on that long trip is Jesus himself. He ascended into heaven after his resurrection, and he will return at the end of times. The servants stand for each one of us here, and the money stands for the God-given talents. In his absence, Jesus expects us to use our talents to build up God's kingdom here on earth. And thus, the first 2 servants were rewarded for their faithfulness and diligent investment of their talents. It is interesting to see the servant with the least number of talents, which is actually given in the longer version of the gospel story. He made no efforts to do anything with his talent for the master. He probably thought that he was given very little compared to others, and so he could be excused. How different is he from the heroes for today, like John, the cancer patient? If anyone had a legitimate excuse for doing the bare minimum with the rest of his life, John did. But instead, he was doing the maximum by taking care of other patients, other cancer patients. As a result, his life has touched more than 100 million people around the world. John's use of his talent in a productive and responsible way makes us wonder and ask, how are we using our God-given talents and gifts in our life? Today's parable reminds us that we all have talents, maybe not spectacular like other people who get their national or international fame. Nonetheless, we do have our talents that are real and important. Experts say that the average person uses only a fraction of their talents. And if the man with the one talent or the least talent had at least tried and failed, he would have met with a compassionate master. But he didn't take any risk at all. Occasionally, this can happen to us. We think that others are more gifted than we are, and we envy them. Instead of using the talents we already have, we dream of the ones we don't have. God has blessed us with a unique combination of talents and abilities, and He expects us to use them and develop them in our life. Now, the question we need to ask is, whatever talents or gifts God has given us, are we using them in the service of the Lord? Are we using them to benefit other people? And when we do so, we become a true blessing to the humanity. I like to end with a survey, a very recent one, which is also very interesting survey called How to Stay Safe Without Taking Any Risk. First, avoid riding in automobiles because they cause almost 20% of all fatal accidents. Second, do not stay home because 17% of all accidents take place at home. Third, avoid walking on the streets because 14% of the accidents happen to pedestrians. Fourth, avoid traveling by air or water because 16% of all accidents involve these kinds of transportation. But you will be pleased to know that only 0.001 of all deaths happen in the worship place or the church. And these are usually related to their previous health conditions. Therefore, logically speaking, the safest place for you at any time is the church. For your own safety's sake, I would say attend the Mass, read the Bible, and it could save your life.